Encounter with the Prophet Sallam 19. Today we are talking about the pride of illiterate. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made the Prophet Sallam to be an illiterate, an unlettered prophet. An illiterate is different from ignorant. Allah made the Prophet Sallam to be an illiterate so people want to accuse him of plagiarism or reading from other scriptures. Guess what? Allah gave him exceptional character that made his people to nickname him Al-Amir, the trustworthy. They used to keep their valuable things with him. They used to make him arbitrate if there is any dispute among them. Know that the Prophet ﷺ never worshipped idol, even before he was called to prophethood. The Prophet ﷺ used to be proud of his lineage. The Prophet ﷺ didn't come from adultery or fornication. All his lineage, the God married till reached the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. This is one of those things that we're supposed to be proud of. We have to give our children legitimacy. That is, we need to get married before we have our children. Who wrote the Quran? The Prophet ﷺ didn't claim the authorship of Quran. He said it was revealed to him for the period of 23 years. This unlettered prophet talked about many scientific discoveries in the Quran that gave sleepless nights to scientists of today. He talked about Big Bang. He talked about astronomy. The Prophet talked about oceanographic. He talked about biology. He talked about reproduction. He talked about plant kingdom. He talked about animal kingdom. He talked about bee that produces honey. He talked about cow that produces milk. He talked about spider and its cobwebs and the horror in the house of spider. On top of that, he talked about how Fir'aun was drawn in the sea. Never stop at that. He talked about how his body was preserved as a sign for mankind. No scripture has ever said this, either Gospel or Old Testament. All of them, they talk about drawing of Fir'aun, but none of them talk about the preservation of his body. Today, when you go to Egypt, in the museum, you can see the body of Fir'aun. For more than 3,000 years, that Fir'aun has been preserved by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Does this Prophet Muhammad sallam worthy to be proud of as an illiterate? Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. May the peace and blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be upon the noble soul of our leader Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his household, his companions, and the generality of the Muslims that are following his footsteps to the day of judgment. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdi, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.